Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video I'll be building up and painting this Crash Sentinel terrain pack for the Marvel Crisis Protocol game. In addition to that, I'm also going to make a diorama to help set the scene. But first I'm going to open this box and see what we get inside the pack. So we have the credits list, who did what and when, and this appears to cover absolutely everybody involved with the process. On the back we have a reproduction of the cover art, plus we've got the QR code, and we will need that to access the assembly instructions. So in this pack we have the building, the sign, the car, and all the Crash Sentinel parts. Plus I also have another small sprue which hasn't been advertised, and on this is a mailbox and a newspaper dispenser, and those will come in useful when helping to set the scene. Basically all the parts appear to be there, and on the assembly side it looks fairly straightforward, but I'd still like to double check with the instructions to make sure I'm doing it right. So scan the QR code and it takes me to the website. It would be nice if I didn't then have to search for the specific instructions I wanted, but eventually they loaded up and I got cracking with the assembly. So the next step is to remove the required part from the sprue, and this is easily done with a pair of clippers, and then the sprue tabs are removed with a small file. And for gluing everything together I use plastic cement, as this will basically weld both parts together. I'm starting off with one of the smallest pieces, and this is the ruin of the Sentinel head. With the base quickly assembled, I then assemble the head and glue it into place. I basically repeat the same process for all the other parts, although some of the pieces are slightly warped. So to hold these into place by the glue sets, I can either use some metal weights, or I can use a couple of clamps, like I did with this Roxxon sign here, because as you can see it won't line up on one side, and I don't want the glue to set like that. Much of the assembly is quite repetitive, so I might have to skip ahead through to the end. And these are our unpainted components. Some of them need gluing together still, but I've left them off for painting purposes. But for now I can go ahead and make the base. I have this scrap piece of PVC board which is about the right size, so I just need to lay everything out and see how it looks. And for me the size is perfect. We'd have a notch cut out in the corner, but I have a solution for that. But for now I think we could do some more details such as pavements, as well as a few parking spaces. So using a pencil I sketch out the details, and then make sure they will fit around my items. Since the pavements are going to be raised, I also need to draw around the protruding areas, so that way those pieces can be cut out and I can ensure perfect fit. I'm going to cut out a large semicircle where this notch is, and this is going to be the raised entrance way for the car park. Off camera I use my Dremel to grind out a ramp, and then that is smoothed out with a sanding sponge. This doesn't need to be perfect because this is going to represent a tarmac area, and those are usually quite uneven. Next I need to mark out and then cut out the pavements, and this is going to surround the whole shop along with the whole back end and the right hand side. And now I just need to cut out the overhanging sections, and I use both a Dremel and a hobby knife to do this. And then before I proceed I check each piece, make sure it fits. And after that I score the lines on for the paving slabs. But the line didn't come out as defined as I hoped for, so I went over with the edge of a file, and this made them much more visible. And then it was just a matter of using some PVC cement to glue everything into place. And this follows the same process as modelling glue, as it welds both halves together. And it's just a matter of adding in some cracks and other details. And before you know it, you have a diorama. And now all we need to do is to paint it, and I'm going to start off with the base. So I mixed up some black and white acrylic paint, and this will give me a dark grey. And by slapping it on everywhere, it gives me a nice even mid-tone to start from, as well as a little bit of texture. After leaving it overnight to dry, I get on with some dry brushing, and I cover the whole surface in a grey, and this leaves the black in the recessed areas and brings out some details. I have room for a couple of parking spaces at the front of the store, and I block them out using masking tape. Then it's just a matter of dabbing on some white paint. I added a couple of coats to help increase the thickness a little bit, and then it was just a matter of pulling off the mask and voila! There are a couple of tiny areas which have bled out a little bit. That can easily be touched up with a bit of grey paint, but the board is still looking a little bit too clean for a car park. Since I can't really use water-based washers on top of acrylic paint, so I've decided to use weathering powder instead. I brushed in dark brown for under the shop and across all the edges, and gave the paving slabs a once-over with some yellow ochre. And to stop the powder from rubbing off, I give it all a once-over with a matte sealer. And now I can put that to one side and get everything else painted. Starting off by spraying everything with a grey primer. I'm not going to cover every item in detail, as that would be a bit too repetitive. But I will however go through a couple of them, starting off with the Rocks On sign. I gave it an all-over base coat in a grey-white, and for the lettering I have to build that up in layers. And I start off by putting red in all the recessed areas, and I can be quite messy about this. And for the base level of the sign I paint that in yellow, although at one point I got quite brave and brushed it straight over the lettering, and by and large I didn't get any yellow on the wording. And then lastly I painted the top layer in red. Then it was just a matter of painting the rubble on the ground in various different colours, and then finishing that off with a brown and a black wash. But when it comes to the car you have to use a spray can for that fine finish. I used a pale gloss green, then left it to dry for a couple of days, and then it's just a matter of painting the rest of the car as per usual. So all the windows and trims were painted in black. The headlights, brake lights and indicators were all painted in the appropriate colours. I used grey panel liner to highlight all the cracks in the windows. And once all that was done, I could finally add the wheels. I have two items to choose from what can be placed on the bonnet: a steel beam or Sentinel's arm. I chose the Sentinel's arm and super glued it in place. Then it was just a matter of sealing everything in place with a matte sealer, and then move on to finishing the last components. And now I can populate the board. Within this game, both the heroes and villains can pick up these components and solve them, and it's for this reason why I've stuck nothing down. So I had the choice to use this board as static scenery where nothing moves, or playable scenery for the game, so it's always nice to have options. Now this set is a little bit too big to fit on my turntable, so you're just going to have to make do with a series of still images. Now I do also have the construction set, which I might build alongside this one, and by keeping the boards separate I can move them about like on tiles, and adapt the scenery to suit whichever game I'm playing. And for those of you who are wondering, the pile of boxes came from my Mantic mystery box a few months ago, and this was just an excuse to put it to good use. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if I can do it, so can you.